Man, oh man, you ever have that where you party too hardy and you wake up part zombie and all you've got is a dagger, a buckler, and some shitty chainmail? I hate that. Happens to me all the time. So anyway, welcome back to Turbo Beasts, everybody. As I said last time, this is Dark Souls Tree for Tales from the Tree. And yeah, I'm gonna start it out. I said I was gonna do something that I've never really done before. And the thing I've never really done before is a luck build. So I'm gonna try and be as lucky as I possibly can. Because I figure, once again, I made me. So let's see. Oh, there we go. Wait, what? Never mind. Why did I load up old guy? Oh well, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna be old me then. Screw it. Why not? So yeah. It's gonna be a luck build because I figure I'm a pretty lucky guy. I'm really lucky. I'm starting school next week. Next week. I got so excited I choked on my own excitement. Yeah, I'm gonna start school. I'm gonna hopefully be an animator someday. And make cartoons and stuff. Just like Shane does. And yeah, I'm really lucky because I've had a lot of help from just a great support group or support base. I got family and friends all looking out for me, wanting what's best for me and that sort of thing, helping me out every step of the way, despite my brain just trying to collapse in on itself in rebellion from, I don't know, enjoyment or happiness or something. My brain's a dick, but luckily no one else in my life is. So yeah, just want to thank everyone and figured I'd be lucky here. And I think today's luck story, or today's story, is going to be in the theme of luck. What the fuck was that? Who did that? Huh? Oh, hello. Hi, Mark. Backstep. So yeah, today's story is going to be in the theme of luck. And what sort of stories do I have to do with luck? Well, I've got a couple. Well, I guess maybe just the first story is going to have to do with luck, because there's another story I kind of want to tell, and it's just kind of funny. But yeah, first story is how I survived a bit of a brush with death in my younger years. Now, I grew up in Squamish, as you all probably know if you watched the last video. And in Squamish, in elementary school, we had this thing called the outdoor school in elementary school. It was like an end of the year trip. We all went to this town north of Squamish called Pemberton. It was like a fucking 4 or 5 hour drive or something crazy like that. There we go. Now we're gonna fucking wreck Godzilla's day a little bit. There we go. And you're like the shitty Godzilla too. You're not like Shin Gojira. Oh, dude. So I took exception to that. You Luc Besson wannabe. Was it Luc Besson? Was it? I don't remember who it was. It was some French dude. Did the 90s Matthew Broderick Godzilla that everyone hates. And it even, I think it was Toho made the Orga, like the movie with Orga in it. The real Godzilla just like nuked Zilla in like the first 5 minutes of the movie. It's pretty funny. Oh. Thanks. Give me your treasures. Later, poo fleck. So anyway, yeah, there was the outdoor school in Pemberton, and it was pretty fun. It was this really nice, like outdoorsy kind of place. There was, again, this really cool like playground maze thing, and inevitably, the second everyone got there, anytime we ever got there, we'd immediately go to that playground thing, and the maze or whatever. And inevitably someone would get lost in there, and we'd have to send in like a teacher or a student who knew the place or something to like lead them out. It was pretty fun. But it was like this legit little like wooden maze, and because it got so crowded, after a while it was like you'd just get jam-packed in there, and you'd have to wait for people to actually be able to untangle their way out of there for you to be able to escape too. It was not good if you had a history of claustrophobia, which some kids kind of did. There was like, I think there was 1 or 2 panic attacks that happened. So anyway, we went up to the Pemberton Outdoor School, one year. I think this was grade 6. I don't think we ever went for grade 7. I don't think so. And we actually finally went, not just at the outdoor school itself, which was just this little outbuilding, and it had like little bunk rooms or whatever you could go to. And with this one, like the grade 6 venture, I believe, we went out, actually out into the woods, and there were these like legit cabins, and you could actually like camp out in these log cabins out in the woods. It was really cool. And we went out there and we did like some outdoor, like I think we actually spent one night out in like the legit woods. We had to like tie our food up in trees and stuff so bears didn't come and like maul a crap load of 12-year-olds in the night. And that was also the same trip where I watched a friend of mine lose the top layer of skin on his foot because he was making some craft dinner in a little boiling pot and tipped it over, and all this boiling water like fell on his foot. So I watched like the top layer of his skin slough off when he tried to peel his wool socks off. Kind of ruined foot fetishes for me for like the remainder of my days, but I guess that's kind of lucky too, because, you know, I don't know if that's something I really want to be engaging in. Feet never did anything for me, and I think that probably helped. So I guess I have him to thank for that. But on to the story of my nigh demise. So at this outdoor school, there was this one parent who went with us, and he was with like the older kids. I think that's why I think it was a grade 6 trip. The grade 7s brought their parents as well. And this guy, bit of a like macho dickhead kind of dude, but he was also very like outdoorsy, and he knew the woods really well. And he was a scout leader too. And he was like, oh, I know this area. There's all these like woods and stuff. There's a really cool mountain trail. If some of you kids want to come up with us, we'll go up on the mountains and we'll show you all the really cool stuff up there. So naturally we were like, hell yeah, let's go do that. So we went up there, and he was like, be warned, there's some very narrow trails, so only the stalwart need apply. So my friends and I went, and yeah, we were having a grand old time hiking up this thing. And yeah, the passes did get really freaking narrow, like maybe a foot and a half across in some parts. Like you actually had to like kind of hug this rock wall sort of deal. It got pretty harrowing, but we went and did it. And I went up there, but there was a couple people who started getting really unnerved, some of the other students. And luckily we were with some other parents and stuff who kind of like were able to be like, okay, you know, if you're worried, you can turn around. And this one kid who was right in front of me started panicking. And he turned around and he was like, nope, can't do it. And he turned around just as like I'm sitting there like, whoa, dude, chill. Like, and he shoved his way right past me. And he wasn't a little kid either. He was a fairly sizable young fella. And he shoved his way right past me on the inside of the path. He didn't go around the outside. And this is right when there was maybe, again, like 2 feet of path to pass me on. Screw you, Gundir. Oh boy, that was not good. Might need to focus. I've never had such a piddly weapon going after this guy before. Oh, poop. He's become poop. Whoop. Good dear, shame on you. You gotta hold it. But see, this is what happens when you hold your Duke for 10,000 years. Since time immemorial, you become a monster of Duke. I tried to make a Duke out of him. But that just goes to show. Gonna take a lot of Duke to beat me. Screw you, buddy. So anyway, this kid goes to push past me and just like shoves me right off this fucking thing. And there's like this pretty steep little like mini cliff thing on the side that he just decided that I just deserved to be on. So he shoved me past, and of course I went over the edge. And I'd never really had my instincts like kick in before. You know, I was 12 years old, didn't really do a whole lot of outdoorsy shit because I've been playing games most of my life. So we went out, I went out over the edge of this fucking thing and just clung to the side. And luckily it wasn't like sheer drop. It was like, there was kind of a, come on dude, hey. Thank you. But yeah, it was like some loose rocks and stuff. So I kind of like skidded on my way down, which gave me a little more time to grab myself. But I'm sitting there after a while, like hanging off the edge of this fucking thing. And if I had let go, even though it was like some loose rocks and stuff, it would have been a good 60, 70 feet of me just tumbling to my death. So again, luckily one of the parents saw this happening and she ran up, grabbed me and hauled me back up. And by the end of that, I was a little, you know, justifiably shook. So I went back down. I was like, nah, screw this. And I chewed that kid out pretty good for fucking chucking me off the edge too. But yeah, so that's a story of me being a pretty lucky kid from a very young age. Next to that, though, the next story I want to tell is about how Tony and I became convention famous for having a really weird convention panel. So yeah, you might know Tony from when I mentioned him in my first episode about the Victoria trip. And if you listen to our podcast, Guttural Frequency, as well, I hope you do. You probably know him from there as well. And one day we decided, I can't remember, Tony messaged me one day and he's like, hey, do you want to do a panel with me? I think, I'm pretty sure, I don't know, it's been a while, I don't remember the deets. But, you know, I was really looking forward to doing something like that with him. So he was like, we should do like dramatic readings of yaoi comics, or yaoi manga, sorry. Don't want to sound too gaijin. So yeah, I was like, oh god, yes, please. So we were thinking we'd do like the full-on voices, like the Yu-Gi-Oh voice, like the oh yeah, you're not gonna get me kind of a voice, and we'd have audio prompts. Tony wanted to like eat an apple very loudly in front of a mic, and we figured we'd get tapioca for visual effects. And we had a pot of craft dinner because Tony rented out one of the little there was like little residential areas because the con was at a university, UBC, and they have these little residential like suites, I guess you can rent, so like a hotel room kind of a deal. So he did that, and yeah, so we had a pot of KD, some things of tapioca, and a big like turkey basting syringe, I think it was. And yeah, so we started this yaoi panel. So I'm gonna get a little story going here to pad out my time frame, so eventually when we monetize it, we can milk this shit for all it's worth.
Welcome to the bonfire, unkindled one.
Thank you.
I'm a firekeeper. I tend to the flame and tend to thee. The lords have left their thrones and must be delivered to them.
She means these thrones.
To this end, I am at thy side.
Excellent. So she is who we use. She is who helps us, guides us through the game, rather. She is sort of she's kind of linked to us. And she is the one with whom we finalize the story, essentially.
Very
So.
well. Then touch the darkness within me. Take nourishment from these sovereignless souls.
And because I am what's called unkindled ash, I'm essentially an empty vessel for all of this stuff. Actually, let's put some more into those. Guess that'll work. For now.
Farewell, Ashen One. May the flames guide thee.
So, yeah, we are basically unkindled ash, which the story of this is basically in the Dark Souls universe, there are cycles. There's the cycle of light, or the era of light, and one of dark. And essentially, the era of light happened because the original gods found these souls, and the original god of light, Gwyn, started the first bonfire, which essentially banished the darkness, which was brought about by them discovering the Dark Souls or the souls, and creating light. Because essentially the world was essentially in complete balance. There was no dark, there was no light, there was no life, there was no death. Everything just existed. And it was basically just dragons and giant trees. And humanity developed underground, and they were these sort of like wretched little creatures until the souls came along and humanity was made, I guess. There's a lot more to it. I'm giving basically cliff notes. But the cycle of light is essentially after the light, like the Age of Light was created, the bonfires eventually started to burn out. And so in order to prolong the Age of Light, Gwyn sacrificed his own body and his own soul, and essentially burned in place of the bonfire in order to keep the bonfires going, in order to stop what happened when the bonfires started to dim, which was humanity started to get these marks on them, and they started hollowing, turning undead, and turning like feral, like zombies, basically. And so eventually what happened was a champion would have to come along every cycle and sacrifice themselves in order to burn and become the next thing that would prolong the Age of Light. And so what happens this time is we need these former champions to come along and sit at their thrones and burn in and burn and basically contribute to the fire, because the fire has been rekindled so many times, or the bonfire has been rekindled so many times, that it needs all the help it can get, because essentially the Age of Dark has, they're basically, you prolonged the inevitable so long and disrupted the natural cycle of things that was created, that this is basically unnatural. It shouldn't really be happening. So that's why there's such a big focus on light and flame in this game, more so than there was in Dark Souls 2, and more so than there was in Dark Souls 1. Because in Dark Souls 1, it was essentially, I think you're the first one to come along after the cycle starts, and this is after the cycle's been going on for ages and ages and ages. Like, there's been, I don't know how many tens of thousands of years have passed. And so basically these guys, the people who are supposed to be taking these thrones, they're the ones who succeeded in kindling the bonfire before. And because I am unkindled ash, I'm essentially an amalgamation of what's left of people who failed. So I'm essentially one big walking failure, but because I've actually come back to life from this, I'm actually given a pretty unique chance to essentially go and go and go until I succeed. Basically, I mean, that is the cliff notes, but yeah, that's essentially the story of this game.
Ah, another one roused from the sleep of death. Well, you're not alone. We unkindled are worthless. Can't even die right. Gives me conniptions. And they'd have us seek the Lords of Cinder and return them to their moulding thrones. But we're talking true legends, with the metal to link the fire. We're not fit to lick their boots.
Some people understand this and give up before they even start.
Don't you think?
I guess it makes a little more sense now they gave you that exposition, huh?
What a sick joke. Asking us to seek the Lords of Cinder. We're talking truly.
Okay, I thought he'd give me something else. But yeah, so that's essentially the sort of the gist of how things are going to go around here. Just going to get some more dialogue out of the way.
All that unkindled I look not in bewilderment.
He has no
as I
legs.
say. I linked the fire long ago, becoming the Lord of Cinder. If substantiation be thy want, set thine eyes upon my charred corpse. This sad cadaver. No need to be coy. Have a closer look.
So Lilith of Corland is...
Do not be away over long.
There's some weird stuff to him. I haven't really figured it all out, but he seems to know a lot about the cycle and everything, and he's the only lord who's actually willingly come forth. All the other ones, essentially, they have refused to do this. They don't want to, they just don't want to do it anymore. So I get to go and bring them here. So we make our first little bonfire here, and now we gain the ability to teleport between them all. So, yeah, so Tony and I started our little... I'm just going to skip the dialogue on these guys. She's basically my merchant, and this guy's my blacksmith, so he upgrades all my shit.
Well, a newcomer, I see. I am Andre. I serve at this shrine as a humble smith, forging weapons. You're in search of the Lords of Cinder, I trust. A toilsome journey, I'd wager. You require good arms. Let me smith you weapons. I am a smith. Such is my purpose.
That guy's so cool.
But I don't want to see my work squandered.
He's fucking awesome. He's actually from Dark Souls 1. And the reason he's actually able to be here from Dark Souls 1 is because basically this area here is where a bunch of different lands converge. And that's why I'm able to kind of go out and seek all these different guys from different kingdoms that have all existed at different times. And in completely different locations, but they're all technically relatively close. So on we go to start our quest. So yeah, Tony and I decided we were going to do this thing. We had our props and we were all raring to go. And man, like, my girlfriend at the time gave Tony this manga because like she knew all the really good shit basically. So he gave her a link to this thing. I hadn't read it. I was going in dry essentially. So oh man, it was brutal. It was like oh, it was so grim. It was some kind of like vampire hunter thing, and like this little undead guy getting hunted by a priest, and the priest did a bunch of mean stuff to him and then resurrected him and did more stuff to him. Oh, it was brutal, but we played it right up. I went into the whole thing. I had cropped my hair really, really close, and I decided I'd just go all out. Like if I was gonna be reading out, you know, dude on dude guts and splatter porn, I wasn't gonna do it in my Sunday best. So I went kind of Ziggy Stardust with my makeup, and I wore like some kind of like gothy stuff and everything, and basically, yeah, it was really fun. And but there's this one girl. She was con staff. Like she was supposed to be working as part of the con, but she decided, nah, I'm just gonna sit here and provide my own commentary. And like, oh man, she just. You know, it was one thing to have crowd participation, but it was also like could you let us do our thing? Like, can you let us do what we came here to do, please? But I mean, it was still pretty funny. Like, I think I've got a bow. Oh, I do, yeah. Cool. Excellent. So, yeah, we were basically reading out this thing. We were doing the voices and everything. I was the bottom, which I think earned me some points. But I mean, you could tell the people were like totally not cool with what we were doing. Like, also there were some people who were really grossed out. Everyone kind of showed up because they were really curious. Like, we packed the house. Like, tons of people showed up and tons of people left. And Tony and I, like, we're not really negative dudes, you know. Like, we weren't gonna like get upset at anyone for leaving and, you know, talk shit or anything. So anytime anyone left, we were like, oh man, thanks for staying as long as you did. Thanks for weathering the storm. Everyone give them a round of applause. So everyone who left got a round of applause. It wasn't like we were making fun of them. We were like, genuinely, thanks for sticking around because this is fucked up. We had such a good time though. And like, it was cool. We were even like, because we had, everything was like like the manga itself was shot up on a projector. So as people saw things get worse and worse, people were like, oh my god, oh come on man, oh god damn. It was so funny. Okay, this thing's not very nice. But luckily, I picked the wrong item. Get me out of here. I have fire, which this thing hates. Just gotta let him forget where we are. Okay, maybe not. Oh, hello. Go away. Teach you for wasting my Estus, you dick. So anyway, yeah, once people saw the sort of stuff that was coming up, they'd be like, "Oh God, no!" And so we'd read stuff off, and it was so funny. And then it was really cool because we had everything on a projector. There was like a huge thing of windows right next to us, and we're an 18+ panel, but there was like little kids like staring through the window. Not like little kids, but like, you know, 15, 16. And you could see the looks of disgust on their faces and everything. Oh, it was so funny. And we'd like, we'd like wave them in like, hey, come on in. And like there was people like would look at us and be like, no, we're not coming in. It was so funny. And, but yeah, we like, after everything was over, like everyone was just like singing our praises. People just loved it. It was so cool. And we didn't realize it, but there was 2 other people from a different con, from Tsukino Con, which is one that goes on in Victoria every year. And they were like I guess they were like scouting talent, I guess. And they came up to us at the very end of it, and they were like, hey, so we run Tsukino Con, and we really loved what we saw. We were hoping that you could come out and do your panel at Archon one time. And we were like, oh hell yeah, that'd be awesome. So we were really stoked. Never happened. Because I mean, like, Tsukino Con kind of happens right around Valentine's Day, and Tony and I, we both had significant others and stuff, and you don't really want to say, oh yeah, I'm just gonna peace out to Victoria during Valentine's Day. I hope that's cool with you. No. So yeah, we didn't end up doing it, but we have had many successful cons or panels at different cons in the past. That's right, and yeah, it's like we've had a very successful time since then. Like since the yaoi panel, like people have always wanted us to do something. Like we've had like a lot of what we'll do now is. Through the Guttural Frequency podcast, we do like creepy game playthroughs, and we actually have people in the audience come up and they'll play through these like spooky games. Like Slender was one, the SCP Containment Breach and the Stairway one was another one that we've had. It was really popular, and we've done a couple other like shorter games and stuff. I think we were gonna do Outlast, but because the only like computer that we had that was portable enough was Tony's laptop, we can really get some of that stuff going. It was still really fun. Like we had a really good time. But yeah, it's just like we've always brought the entertainment, and we have loved doing it in the past. Kind of gets a little tired though after a while, just doing and like. When you're just trying to find the weirdest porn you can to read off, it gets a little demoralizing after a while. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much how we did it, and have enjoyed ourselves for the most part. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed it. We've been lucky to have the opportunities that we've had to go to the cons we have, even though they haven't always been great. There's been times when like. things haven't always gone according to plan, but what are you gonna do? It gives you fun stories to tell later. Don't just die. Just die. Alright, I think that I might leave it off here, keep a nice shorter one, especially because last time was really, really long and but yeah, I'm gonna I think I'll leave it off here. We'll leave it down in this creepy, dank, dark dungeon, and that way it'll leave it's mysterious. It'll give you a little bit of mystery, and you guys can hopefully you'll want to know what's around this corner here, because I can tell you now, it's pretty fucking cool. So join me next time. We'll try and come right back here, and we'll do some story time again next Wednesday. Hope everyone had a good time, and sorry. Maybe because the theme of the day was lucky. Leave a story down below. Let me know what you feel lucky about, or maybe a story that you feel lucky that had to do with luck. Just it's about luck. It's luck. And hope everyone had themselves a grand old time. Bye, everybody.